All right, this is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio. I'm here with Nige Rockett of Onslaught. How you doing today, Nige?
I'm great, George. Thanks. And you?
Excellent.
Cool.
If I knew absolutely nothing about Onslaught, how would you describe the band's music to me?
The new album in particular, I mean, our whole catalogue is aggressive thrash metal, basically, with a very dark edge to it, if you like to put it that way. There's no kind of fun in our music. So, yeah, very dark thrash metal, I would say.
Your new album, Generation Antichrist, was released last week. Why did you decide to use that song as the album's title?
I think it's commonly known about my personal feelings on religion, which kind of reflects on the whole Onslaught thing, I guess. And I think I look at the generation of kids today, my children in particular and their friends, you know, they've no interest in religion, the same as me pretty much. But they have no interest in religion. They don't get taught religion in schools. They probably, as far as I know, my kids have never even touched the Bible without any kind of influence from me, mind you. So I kind of look at them as a generation of anti-Christians, you know. So it's where I kind of got the title for this album from, but basically looking at what's going on in the world today and how I think religion is kind of dwindling and maybe is kind of a creator of its own demise at the moment with lots of really bad things going on. I just see maybe 50, 60 years down the line is going to be really, really different to what it is over the last century. I think religion's going to disappear, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, it's come from looking at my kids and their friends, really, and what's going on with them.
Not to get too deep, but, I mean, you say that, you know, you don't believe in religion and stuff like that. Do you still believe in a higher power, or are you just pure, we die?
It's a difficult one. I just don't like the way religion works, you know. Obviously, they're preachers and they preach bad things. But I wouldn't say I don't disbelieve in some kind of entity. I don't know what. It's kind of bizarre because you always feel like you get this impression you're being watched over by whoever that may be. I don't know whether it be good or bad, you know. I think
right.
I have an inclination who looks over me, and it's certainly not the religious side of things. It's probably the guy on the other side who looks after me a little more, I think.
That's good enough.
It's a weird one. That's a very good question, actually. I don't know. That's tough. I just don't like the way religion works for me personally. That's the thing. I think it has far too much influence, and people take it far too far with their beliefs, you know.
No, I absolutely get that. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's a thing that's been with me since I was kind of 4 or 5 years old. You know, my family were kind of religious, and I got made to go to church basically for 5 or 6 years. Made to sing hymns, made to say prayers, and I didn't want to be doing that when I was at that age. You know, I should have been out playing football with my friends on a weekend. So it kind of got to the point when I was 9 or 10 and I was old enough to kind of say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And it's kind of stuck with me since then, you know. It's poisoned me against it, and that's the way I write the songs against it, you know. So, yeah, it's a personal thing.
No, absolutely. So in that same vein, I mean, the first single you put out from this album was Religious Suicide.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, you're pretty much calling out the hypocrisy of organized religion, correct?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, and as I said, I kind of see it as its own worst enemy. It's doing itself no favors whatsoever. So hence the chorus line, whether I'm allowed to say that, religion takes it, and it's fucking itself up, man. It's not doing itself any favors, you know. Right. All these pedophile priests and things like that, and it's just gone beyond the realms of ridiculousness for me. And as I said, the generation of Antichrists aren't going to follow that religion anymore, you know.
Right. The follow-up single is more political than it is religious. Bow Down to the Clowns. Do you want to talk a little about that song?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because we finished writing the lyrics December 19, I guess, and it was probably a little more aimed at what's going on in the UK and Europe over the past year before the pandemic kind of hit. But all of a sudden, once the pandemic came in, it became even more relevant. You know, with the amount of lies, especially in the UK. I mean, it's just beyond the realms of I don't know. It's just ridiculous. The amount of lies we're getting fed, the deceit and the absolute bullshit that we receive from our government, and they expect us to believe what they're telling us, you know. And it's getting worse day by day. We've just been told today that the UK has been hit with the worst recession of any of the G7 countries ever. So that just kind of sums them up. They are a bunch of clowns. They expect us to bow down to them. And that's what that song is all about. But it's just become so relevant. Each week goes by, the song just carries on a whole new meaning. And with the video, we just tried to make a video, a very divisive video, to get a reaction, whether people like it or not. It was just to get a reaction. Because it's kind of different for thrash metal and very different for Onslaught. But it was there to get that reaction from people and wake up to see what's going on, you know. And the response has been incredible. Yeah, it's worked. So it did its job.
You hit the nail on the head here in the United States. I mean, we're bowing down to the lockdowns, the mask mandates, the travel restrictions, the stay in your home, and it's just one thing contradicts the other. So what do you believe? Exactly.
Is there an ulterior motive? I don't know. There's something very, very strange, and I really don't know. But it leads to other songs on the album. You know, that this what's going to happen in the future. It's kind of weird because all this was written beforehand, but it's becoming more relevant day by day.
Exactly. So when you say it, the rest of the album kind of appeals to that. Is that where you go with Empire's Fall?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, totally, man. It's the next level, I think, and I could think if this carries on, I think people are just gonna rise up. It's happened before, so what's going to stop it happening again? I mean, these people are just beyond the realms of ridiculous. Some of the things that I hear coming out of your country and coming out of our country are just beyond belief, man. They really are. They take us for idiots. They really do.
Don't you find it interesting that you were pretty much writing about the same subjects 35 years ago and they're still relevant today?
I know. It's like a 17-year-old punk rocker, and it's all come full circle, man. It's like, and I'm just like, I got so much fuel. We're not going to be able to play shows for some time yet. We've started the process of the next album already, which is bizarre because the album's only been out 5 days. And we're thinking okay, let's write the new album. But there's so much fuel now for the lyrical fire, and I'm finding it's turning into a protest band again. It's like
perfect. I mean, that's what thrash was about in the '80s. I mean, rock and roll wasn't really doing that. I mean, thrash is for sure. I mean, you Megadeth and Violence and bands like that, they were doing the political thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm heading at the moment on this record, because there's so much to write about for the next one, and this very relevant to what's going on now. It's like I need to do this now while it's fresh in my head and all this shit's going on.
Now, Perfect Day to Die, 2020 that's a remake of a song you did in 2018, 19?
19, yeah.
And that was a tribute to Lemmy?
Yeah. Lemmy, and obviously we've lost some of the other guys who are equally as important as well. So, I mean, we owe those guys everything. We toured with Motorhead in 1987 when we did the Force album. And it still, for me, is the best experience that this band has ever had, It'll never be forgotten. It was the best tour without doubt, and they just gave us everything. They taught us everything, and the least we could do was write a tribute song for those guys who are sadly no longer with us. So yeah, obviously you hear in the music is totally Motorhead.
Oh yeah,
which is one of our main influences when we started. So I didn't see any other way we could make such a fitting tribute as doing the song for them. You know?
Is Motorhead a big, considered a big band over in England?
Oh yeah, they're massive. Yeah. Well, they were. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I didn't think they ever quite kind of broke the States like they did Europe, if I'm correct. But no, they were when we went on tour with them, we were doing like 8,000 people a night. So it was very cool.
This is your first album with Dave Garnett. How did the band decide on him on vocals?
Dave's been a friend for a long time, and he's best buddies with our drummer James. They come from the same town in the UK, and they were the same band previously to Onslaught. You know, so known Dave for a long time, and he stepped in for us for a festival back in February this year when Psy was unavailable. Obviously, there was a lot of going on behind the scenes with Psy and stuff, so we kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah.
So we were a little prepared, and when we got back from the festival that Dave did, he did an absolutely amazing job on us. Everything kind of, the situation cleared itself, and it became apparent that we needed a new vocalist then. So after the amazing performance he did in Sweden at the festival, we said, look, Dave, you up for doing a couple of demos for us? Which obviously he was, because he's a massive fan of the band for many years anyway. So he did that, and they were great. He did a really good job. So that was it. As we heard the demos and offered him the job there and then, and within 3 weeks, he was in the studio recording the vocals for Generation Antichrist. So yeah, he was blown away. We were blown away, and everything worked luckily. So it was a really smooth transition.
Now, your last album, you toured for 5 years on it. Had you planned a long tour for this album?
Yeah. Well, it was we'd done over 2 years on the 6th album. Then it kind of got to 2016. Then it came to the 30th anniversary of the 4th album. So that kind of took another 2 years out of our schedule. You know.
Yes.
That's what the band's all about. We just love to play live. You know? The opportunity arises, and we say yes if the conditions are right. We'll do it. So we basically toured the world twice. Record company got a little bit alarmed. When's the new album coming? So yeah. But obviously, this year's been decimated for us, which is a disaster, I guess.
Yeah.
We had some amazing festivals in the summer, and the touring was scheduled to start September right through to the end of the year and beyond. You know. So we've lost our US-Canada tour. All the work visas were in place and everything. South America, we've lost that tour, and obviously Europe and the UK. That's all gone, and all those have to be rescheduled for now. And whilst we say that they have to be rescheduled, promoters are still very wary about trying to book shows at the moment, because nobody knows what's going to happen after the turn of this year. The two American festivals we have scheduled are April and May, I believe, but who's to say that they're going to go ahead? And it's very difficult, because obviously we have to rework all our work visas once again, which at great cost, and that may be cancelled again. So it's very difficult for everyone. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, unfortunately. And in the meantime, as I said to you earlier, all we can do is just start writing new material, which is not an ideal situation so soon after a new record, but we just can't stand still, and just in case, you know. I'm not a big fan of these socially distant shows out there looking, so I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, right.
We shall see.
The Force is considered your landmark record. What do you remember around recording that album?
Lots of weird shit. Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very bizarre situation. I mean, we were lucky enough. I mean, as I said, back then when we were making that record, we were young kids. And I think a majority of the Sex Pistols album, Nevermind the Bollocks, was recorded at the same studio, which was great for me, being a massive Sex Pistols fan, you know. So that was kind of inspiring when we were doing that. But the weird thing, there was lots of strange stuff going on in the studio when we were in there, you know. I remember if you've got all the digital equipment in the studio, say we were doing some delays on vocals or whatever, and generally they work from like 0.0 0.1 milliseconds to 1 second. Every time the engineer would set these settings in the millisecond range, it would just revert to 666, whatever he did. Honestly, I kid you not. I wish we had kind of smartphones then to actually film it, because it was insane. And every day, if you'd set it at 454 or whatever, it would just go to 666. And he started to get spooked in the end. And I think the final straw was one day we were leaving the studio on an evening after a session. There was a speaker in the corner of the engineering room, and the cone was pulsing, you know. I said, "Oh, Dave, you've left a speaker on there?" He said, No. I said, "No, it's moving, it's pulsing." And it was just beating like a heartbeat. He said, "No, it's all turned off." He checked it, everything was turned off, and his speaker was still pulsing away. And he said, "Man, I'm getting out of here. This is too much for me." But honestly, as I'm sat here now, that's exactly what happened. I'd give anything to have been able to film that back then, you know. So it's kind of what I said. I don't know who's watching over me sometimes, because I get lots and lots of weird things happening about that. But yeah, it was kind of cool. I'd seen the funny side of it, but Dave kind of got really freaked about it.
Your follow-up album to The Force, In Search of Sanity, was that a record that the label pushed you to make?
Yeah, basically, yeah, very much so. And it's a record that I still, or the only record I'm not happy with, or I can't find some kind of common ground with it at the moment, you know. Everything is for me, is not an Onslaught record quite yet. It will be, trust me, but it's not. It's too polished, it's too clean. Yeah. With the addition of Steve Grimmett, as much as Steve had a great voice, it's not an Onslaught record when I listen to it, you know. I love the songs on it, don't get me wrong, but the overall vibe of the record is just not Onslaught. In comparison to the demos, what we did for that album, which sounded really raw and aggressive, it just didn't come out that way, you know. So we've recorded the actual track In Search of Sanity with this in these recording sessions, what we just did. And Dave has really brought the songs to life, you know. It's obviously got the overall production of the Generation Antichrist album, which immediately gives it so much aggression. Dave's vocal performance on there is out of this world. It's made me fall in love with the songs again, you know. So yeah, the plan is to now try and, over the next year or 2 years, and recording sessions when we do them, is to record more and more of it, so we get it all done, and being able to put it out as a whole unit, you know. Right. Because it's just brought it to life. It really does sound good. I just want so many people to hear it, but it's being held back for later things because of the pandemic situation. So we need material for when tours do start. So it's going to be kind of a marketing thing for a little farther down the line. But it does sound so good. So yeah, I just can't wait for people to get a listen of it. You know.
1991, when the band broke up, what did you do after that?
I did a couple of things after, a couple of projects, and that's how I met our now bassist Jeff Williams, and how he got to join Onslaught. We did a project called Power Junkies. It was a kind of cross between Sex Pistols meets Metallica. It was this real punky metal thing, you know. Yep. Lots of raw energy, and it was great. And we were working with Rod Smallwood, Iron Maiden's management, and Sanctuary, and we were so close to making something really happen. And all of a sudden, at the very last stage, it all fell apart. I really don't know why. And that's why I decided to put the guitars away, because after the disappointment with Onslaught in '91, what happened with Polygram and stuff, and then it seemed like everything was going to get back on track with the Junkies thing and Sanctuary. And when that went down the tubes, that was it for me. That was like the last disappointment I could really take, you know. So I thought, I'm not. The grunge had come along, and the metal scene had changed a lot. Everything was in a bad place. So I thought, that's it for me. Now I'm gonna put the guitars away, and they shall never come out again. But they did.
That's right. So what brought you back to Onslaught?
2002 or 2004 actually. We found out that the Force and Power from Hell had been re-released. Just random thing on the internet came up. Nobody told us about it. And obviously the band had been defunct for a long time, so we weren't really checking out what's going on or had no news of anything. So it just came up on a random internet thing, and okay, somebody owes us some bucks here. So we got in touch with the label who'd released them, and very cooperative. They were absolutely great. They gave us all the statements for the albums and paid us up all the royalties which were due. And we sold a hell of a lot of albums. Unbelievable. It was incredible. So yeah, it was like, wow, the interest in Onslaught is there, or is it back, or is it always been there? So you start to search then, and a lot of people were talking about Onslaught again, 2004, 2005. So it was like, okay, let's give it a shot. Maybe it's a chance to kind of put right the bad things that had gone wrong with the Sanity album, and try and get back on track again, which we did, and everything just fell in place. It was very cool. It took a little while to get the old head around songwriting again after such a long layoff, and trying to find the place where Onslaught should be in 2005, 2006. But I guess everything took around 9 months to a year to get the playing back together, to get the songwriter head back on, and once I'd written, I think Killing Peace was the first track I'd written that I was happy with. There was lots of stuff that got thrown away. But once I found the place that we should be with that song, it all came very easy. And the rest of the album was so simple to write, and everything just built very quickly from there. All the shows rolled in and the album came out, and it was great. And all those ghosts kind of got laid to rest.
Excellent. And now you haven't even looked back, right?
No, never look back. Not now.
Well, that's all I got for you today, Nige. I thank you for speaking with Metal Express Radio.
Absolute pleasure, Josh.